Afternoon tea. Afternoon tea is an old British tradition of having tea between 3 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, accompanied by sweet or savory tidbits of food. There are three types of afternoon tea: cream tea, paired with scones, jam, and cream; light tea, paired with scones and sweets; and full tea, paired with savories, scones, sweets, and a dessert. It is said that the tradition was invented by Anna Maria Stanhope, the Duchess of Bedford, in the 19th century. She suffered from a sinking feeling in the afternoon, so she started having a pot of tea and a light snack privately in her boudoir. Miso. Miso is a Japanese paste made by fermenting soybeans with salt, the fungus KJI, and occasionally rice, barley, and water. It is regarded as the most popular Japanese condiment and seasoning, commonly used to flavor soups, stews, sauces, spreads, and salad dressings. There are numerous miso varieties which differ in the length of the fermenting process and ingredients, resulting in different flavor of the products. The three basic types include the rice-based miso, referred to as komi, the barley miso, known as mugi, and the soybean mame miso. Wagashi. Wagashi are traditional Japanese sweets that are usually made from natural, plant-based ingredients such as grains and azuki beans. The sweet treats are typically served with tea and are classified into three categories: Namagashi fresh confectionery, Hanamagashi half-dry confectionery, and Higashi dry confectionery. Wagashi is characterized by its design. So, in spring, when cherry blossom is in full bloom, the producers make wagashi in cherry blossom shapes, using cherry petals or leaves. The origins of these sweets date back to the Yayoi era, when there was nothing more than natural nuts, fruits, and berries. So wagashi was influenced by the grain processing skills introduced from China. Wanton. Often referred to as the Chinese ravioli, wontons are a variety of thin-skinned dumplings with meat, seafood, or vegetable filling enclosed in tender wheat dough wrappers. Many sources suggest that the origins of wontons date back to the Han Dynasty era, when they used to be prepared for the Chinese ancestor worship rituals as offerings to the spirits of the deceased. As the Han era concluded, circa to 20 CE, the northern Chinese farmers, who had long grown wheat, discovered they could ground this grain into flour and knead it with water. From this practice emerged an entire world of new dishes known as bing, which was a collective name for steamed breads, grilled flatbreads, noodles, and various dumplings. Quiche. This popular French pie consists of a pastry crust filled with eggs, cream, and anything from bacon, cheese, and leek-2 mushrooms and seafood. Quiche is usually very filling and high in calories, making it a frequent choice for parties and buffet tables. It can be served either hot or cold, and is traditionally cut into slices. Numerous varieties of quiche exist today, the most popular of which are quiche Lorraine, quiche Florentine, and quiche Provenale. Soba noodles. Although soba is the Japanese term for buckwheat, the word typically refers to thin buckwheat noodles. The noodles are usually prepared for numerous hot and cold dishes, and can be consumed at both fast food stands on railway stations and in expensive restaurants. Soba is commonly eaten with chopsticks, and it is recommended to slurp the noodles while making loud noises, as it's a part of common culture in Japan. Eating soba dates back to the Edo period, when every part of town had a few soba establishments, which were used as today's bars. Fried chicken. The most popular food of the southern cuisine, fried chicken is the theme of many arguments, where everyone involved seems to have a favorite, be it what their mothers used to make, a cult roadside eatery, or a bygone restaurant. However, it is universally agreed that the meat must be moist, succulent, and tender, coated with a crunchy, golden brown crust. It all started during the colonization period, when Scottish immigrants settled in the South, bringing their fried chicken recipes along. The African slaves then introduced new seasonings and spices, and the dish quickly gained popularity. Typical seasonings include salt, pepper, and hot chilies. and the pieces of meat should be edible by hand so that the consumer can bite both the crust and the meat at the same time. Brownies. Deliciously chewy, dense and fudgy with a rich chocolate flavor, the beloved brownies are one of the most popular American desserts. Some claim that Bertha Palmer, wife of the owner of Palmer House Hotel, asked the chef to invent a new chocolate dessert to serve at the 1893 Columbian Exposition. Others say that it was an accident when Brownie Schrumpf, a librarian, excluded baking powder from a chocolate cake and was left with a thick, black cake bar. Regardless of the origins, what really popularized the brownies were instant box mixes from the 1950s made by two brands, Duncan Hines and Betty Crocker. Kimchi. Although many people get a chill through their spine at the very mention of the word pickles, Koreans have found a way to make fermented pickled vegetables interesting, tasty, and titillating. A classic starter or a side dish to any Korean meal, these spicy, salty, sweet, and sour vegetables known as kimchi start their way sliced, tied in bundles, and marinated in brine with hot chili peppers, salty fish paste, leeks, ginger, sugar, and garlic. Although the popularity of kimchi is still rising in the West, it is an ancient dish, dating about 2,000 years back. When it was first mentioned in written documents, it was originally called chimchae, literally translated to soaked vegetables, because kimchi was soaked only in brine or beef stock in the past. But by the 12th century, other ingredients and seasonings began to be added to the pot. Tagliatelle al rag alla bolognese. Tagliatelle al rag alla bolognese, the traditional Italian dish originating from Bologna, consisting of tagliatelle pasta and a rich rag made with a mixture of minced beef and pork, and tomatoes as key ingredients. Even though they are often thought to be synonymous, tagliatelle al ragone of Bologna's signature dish bears little or no resemblance to the dish known as spaghetti bolognese in the rest of the world. In fact, the world-famous Italian rag alla bolognese meat sauce is never served with spaghetti and bologna. Instead, when it isn't served over fresh tagliatelle, you will most often find it topping a bed of some other ribbon-like pasta, such as fettuccine or pappardelle.